You know what? It's a good segue because Simon mentioned, the very pointed message that the pontiff was giving to American Christians, particularly these far right Christian nationalists. And Simon mentioned a certain Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith, and it is my unfortunate duty to inform you that we have to talk about this guy again this week. So the Lieutenant Governor's Hamilton County Church has been embroiled in this sex abuse scandal while his office is subject to a criminal investigation in Marion County over employment fraud and deepfake revenge porn. Last Sunday, Tom LoBianco over at 24 Site News, who has been all over this case, go subscribe to him, Beckwith and Chad McAtee, the state superintendent of the Assemblies of God denomination, delivered back-to-back sermons at the Life Church campus in Noblesville, where they told congregants to ignore the allegations. Recall, the head of the entire Life Church cluster and Beckwith's best friend and podcast partner, Nathan Peternel, is reported to have pressured teens to talk about their and his sex lives over the course of the last 30 years. These revelations began coming out several weeks ago after Peternel's 24-year-old son was arrested on 4 counts of owning and distributing child sexual abuse material. Furthermore, police found over 50 videos of the elder Peternel and his wife either naked or engaged in sex acts on the son's phone. Ew, gross. Despite these accusations, Beckwith and McAtee defended the pastor, calling him a man of integrity, comparing him to Jesus and accusing the church's enemies of spreading lies. For his part, though he hasn't been speaking or appearing publicly, Peternel is bragging that he can't be fired. In a recording obtained by LoBianco, Beckwith's bestie and boss boasts, quote, "I hire and fire pastors, so all employees work for me. The board doesn't do that, so the board can't fire someone, right?" End quote. Apparently, these proclamations of absolute power inside the church are routine, and though Peternel carries himself with an air of invincibility, he does acknowledge there is a way to remove him either by congregant revolt or intervention by Assemblies of God, the world's largest Pentecostal denomination. Now Beckwith says, "Listen, we're not those kind of Pentecostals, right? We're sane." He literally said this. We're not the kind that are handling snakes and whatnot. It sounds like Peternel might be on video handling snakes, if you know what I'm saying. So Simon, I don't know. Just the ick factor. I need to stop. Maybe go find a bucket to throw up in. I'll let you talk for a
while. I mean, it's sad that we have this situation where Christianity has been corrupted by the West to the point that it has. So, I mean, for those that don't know us, Michelle and I actually met as missionaries with an organization called Youth with a Mission. So we were up in Canada at their Academy of Performing Arts. So we both have backgrounds in evangelical churches. Obviously, I'm a lot more Church of England because that's my upbringing. And I've also been fortunate to have a Archbishop of Canterbury in our friends of our family, so that's been kind of insightful. I mean, mum and dad would go on holiday somewhere, and then we'd show up at mum and dad's friends, and then one day he got appointed Archbishop of Canterbury, so that was quite a surprise. I mean, and it's
a long way. Is that like the Anglican analog to the Pope? Am I getting that right, or is that like down a level?
No, it's exactly right. It was the position that Henry VIII created. I don't know if Henry VIII created, but it was created by Henry VIII's establishment of the Church of England in order not
Henry VIII also created the position of sixth ex-wife.
Yeah, and I don't think he was alone in that. Anyway, so I think we've got some qualifications to speak into the Christian nationalist thing, and it's very hard to align yourself as a Christian with a lot of these fundamentalist churches, and Well, because this is a whole can of worms. But I would rather look at myself as a follower of Jesus than a Christian if what Beckwith and his friends are doing is what Christianity's become, because it's like Gandhi said, I like your Christ, I do not like your Christians,
Yeah.
And that sums it up right there as to what the problem is. So for those of you who are familiar with the Sermon on the Mount, that is now libtard.
Right.
Yeah. You have congregations openly in revolt, basically saying that the Sermon on the Mount is soft and weak. And
It's true.
That's not Christianity. So, I mean, you've got fundamental points, and then you've got people like Beckwith and many others that are actually coming out with these positions, which are positions that we've all expected the Antichrist to take.
Yeah.
And
Tabitha. Sorry.
And now you've got Peter Thiel going on tour talking about his visions of the Antichrist and how they're all libtard.
Peter Thiel's visions of the Antichrist came from the Mirror, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's if he can actually see himself in a mirror.
Yeah, very good.
What I wanted to throw out here, as we're talking about Beckwith, these are things Beckwith has actually said. Yes, Jesus is actually into vengeance. Jesus divides, it's a warrior message, be ready to bring division. And to be fair, Jesus said he did come to divide, but that's taken out of context by putting in the warrior message. Jesus tells his disciples to go out and buy a weapon. Actually, I don't think they did. They said, go get your sword. One is enough. I think that was the actual context, So you can see how these things are being twisted. Pro-choice Hoosiers are demonic. Now, I know a lot of the pro-choice Hoosiers from church circles, and I would not call them that. I would call them caring and compassionate people. And then there's a couple of doozies. You can't pet a demon. You will either kill it or it kills you and those you love. Well, we should all try and pet Beckwith and see if it's actually a demon.
I don't want to touch him.
I think it is. And then no. And then check this one out. Discrimination against the LGBTQ plus community or against Jews or liberals is not only bad, it's not even discrimination. It's a direct application and enforcement of God's commands. Now, that is so badly out of theology. I don't even know where to start. I mean, because that speaks into the whole thing about you've got to execute gay people, which has been preached from some pulpits. And yeah, it's just bad, wrong theology. Anyway, you look at it. I'm sorry. I'll pass it back to you.
Tabitha, you're literally sitting outside of a church right now, are you not? I don't think that kind of stuff Beckwith is talking about is going on inside your church.
Well, I'll tell you this. I firmly believe there are more Hoosiers that feel like me and more women in the church that feel like me. And so the women in this church, I feel pretty strongly, hold a considerable amount of power. And if they caught wind of anything like that going on, God would have to save them personally. That's how I feel. The only reason that my kids are in this Sunday school right now is because I know the people. I feel that they're not going to teach them anything that is hateful. They will protect them. I give my cell phone number to the teachers that are down there. They know my family. So bouncing back to Beckwith and the state of Indiana, I don't know why our lieutenant governor is still giving sermons, because that sort of seems like a conflict of interest right there. Sort of pick a camp. That's just my opinion. And then I think that it sends the wrong message if he is preaching about such things. And let's just be honest, the content that came out is horrific, like AI images of pregnant toddlers and things of that nature. So how the church hierarchy generally works is the preacher and their children have access to the entire congregation.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that there are some congregations that the patriarchy is very strong in, and that maybe some of the women, especially some of the girls, would be being taught specifically, be calm, be demure, like don't raise problems. And if you do have a problem, either go to the other females in the church or go to the preachers themselves. So if these preachers are up in a pulpit and saying these types of things, people would be nervous because they would not want to be segregated or ostracized from the flock, if you will. But somebody has to protect these kids. And obviously the connection, like irregardless of if this person has been officially convicted of these crimes, right? It's heinous. And people in Indiana, a lot of them go to church. I mean, in towns like mine, it's like pick a corner and there's a church everywhere. And I really don't think Hoosiers like this sort of thing. And I was actually in a conversation the other day about this sort of thing. And I said, look, when I go online, I'm saying the things, the conversations that people are having around their tables. Like people are talking about these things. Micah Beckwith, he's not fooling anybody. And I think the Hoosiers are going to get him, honestly. Like he might as well just decide where he's going to stand on these things, and just making it as easy for people as being like, oh, just disregard it. Nobody's disregarding anything. If anything, they're going to bring the hammer down on him and everybody that has anything to do with him. So everybody in that church, anybody that may be listening or is in earshot of this, stay as far away from it as humanly possible. And on top of that, if you're a man and if you believe in Christ, you know better. If you're a grown woman and you're a believer of Christ, you know better. And then going just to Christ in general, right? Jesus was a brown man from the Middle East that was flipping tables. So if you right now, as a person of faith, are not flipping tables and not very publicly, like the outcry should just be overwhelming. Like it should be making people's ears bleed at this point if you actually believe in the teachings of Christ, coming from someone that used to go to church like 3 times a week. It's one of these situations where it's like, hey, we don't always have to agree on everything, but child rape and sex scandals, I mean, that should be a no-brainer. Everybody should be agreeing on this. And the fact that we have a lieutenant governor right now that is somehow involved in this sort of thing, I don't know why he's still in office at all. Like, they should just remove him pending an investigation. Like, he shouldn't have access to that church. And these people that are, accused of these things certainly should not have access to any children or be in eye shot or earshot of children. That's my opinion.
The whole thing needs to get shut down, frankly.
Yeah.
That entire Life Church network seems like a cesspool, and I hope the backlash against it and its proprietors will be swift and severe. Now, speaking of backlash,
something else in about the structure there. So the reason that the head pastor there feels protected is because of the way they structured the church. The church probably, as a corporation, owns the land, and he's probably because he's the key man there for the church properties and stuff. He may have leverage within the power structure of that local community. That where the board isn't necessarily in a position to challenge that authority just because of the way it's legally structured. And I've seen this over and over again where the church gets into fights with the denomination when there's a problem and the denomination comes to shut them down, they sometimes find that, oh, the denomination doesn't own the land, so they actually can't shut the church down. All they can do is kick them out of the denomination, and I've seen that happen several times.
And then they go independent, and you gotta deal with them.
Essentially, they were independent and then aligned with Assemblies of God, apparently. So,
and for the record, Assemblies of God, we saw like just recently. There's been a massive sex scandal in the wider church, not just here in Indiana.